The music industry looks glamorous from the outside. $1 million stages, screaming fans, luxury brands, and viral interviews that spread across the internet in seconds. But behind all that fame, there's one thing many celebrities underestimate: the power of BTS fans. Over the years, several American singers thought criticizing BTS would make them look bold, honest, or controversial. Some mocked their music, some questioned their success, others openly disrespected their fandom on live television, podcasts, or social media. At first, many of them probably thought it was just another celebrity opinion, but what happened next completely changed their public image forever. Because once the internet started digging into old interviews, shady comments, hidden jealousy, and industry politics, public opinion turned upside down faster than anyone expected. Some artists lost fan support overnight, some faced massive backlash online, and a few quietly tried to apologize after realizing how powerful global audiences had become. But here's the real question: were these singers truly hated because of BTS? Or did the controversy simply expose attitudes people already disliked about them? Which criticism crossed the line from honest opinion into disrespect? And which American singer made the biggest mistake by underestimating ARMY? Get ready, because this list isn't just celebrity drama. It's a look into how fame, fandoms, and internet culture can destroy reputations in real time. Number 10. Machine Gun Kelly's joke that backfired. When Machine Gun Kelly casually mentioned BTS during an interview a few years ago, he probably thought nobody would care that much. At the time, celebrity interviews were full of sarcastic humor, edgy comments, and random jokes meant to go viral for a few hours before disappearing. But what MGK didn't realize was that the internet had already entered a completely different era. Fan communities were stronger, faster, and more organized than ever before, especially when it came to protecting BTS. The controversy started after clips from one of his interviews spread online, where many fans felt he was subtly mocking BTS's image and popularity. Some viewers said his tone sounded dismissive, like he couldn't believe a Korean group had become bigger than many Western artists in the American market. Others believed he was trying too hard to sound too cool while talking about a group that was dominating global charts at the time. And honestly, that was the biggest mistake, because once ARMY noticed the clip, social media exploded almost instantly. Twitter threads started appearing everywhere. Old MGK tweets resurfaced. Past controversial moments got dragged back into the spotlight. Suddenly, the conversation wasn't even about BTS anymore. It became about Machine Gun Kelly himself. People began criticizing his attitude, his history of online feuds, and the way he often used controversy to stay relevant. What made the backlash even worse was timing. During that period, BTS were reaching insane milestones internationally. They were selling out stadiums, topping Billboard charts, appearing at major award shows, and proving that non-English artists could dominate globally without changing their identity. So when MGK's comments surfaced, many people interpreted them as jealousy disguised as humor. And on the internet, perceived jealousy spreads faster than facts. Within days, clips mocking MGK started going viral across TikTok, YouTube, and fan forums. Some people compared his streaming numbers to BTS. Others pointed out how BTS members maintained a respectful public image while MGK constantly attracted drama headlines. Even casual music fans who weren't hardcore ARMY started joining the discussion because the controversy fit a bigger narrative people already believed: that some Western artists secretly felt threatened by BTS's success. That idea alone made the situation impossible to control. But here's where things became really interesting. The backlash exposed something deeper happening inside the music industry at the time. For decades, many Western celebrities were used to American artists dominating pop culture globally without competition. Then suddenly BTS appeared and completely changed the game. They didn't follow traditional American industry rules. They sang mostly in Korean. They built one of the strongest fandoms in music history, and they proved social media engagement could overpower old school gatekeeping. For some artists, that shift was exciting, but for others, it created visible discomfort, and fans believed MGK's comments reflected exactly that discomfort. Another reason the criticism hit so hard was because Machine Gun Kelly already had a reputation for chaotic celebrity drama. His public feud with Eminem had divided audiences years earlier, and many people still associated him with controversy instead of musical consistency. So when the BTS situation happened, public opinion turned against him very quickly because people already had mixed feelings about his image. In internet culture, once someone gains a reputation for arrogance or attention-seeking behavior, even small comments can become massive scandals overnight, and that's exactly what happened here. Interestingly, Unfortunately, some fans later argued that the backlash became too extreme. They claimed MGK's words may have been exaggerated online and taken more seriously than intended, but by then, it didn't matter anymore. The narrative had already formed. Online audiences had decided he disrespected BTS, and reversing that perception became nearly impossible. That's one of the scariest parts of modern celebrity culture. Sometimes public opinion moves faster than context itself. Once the internet creates a villain, every old clip, every awkward interview, and every controversial moment suddenly gets stitched together into one giant story. And for MGK, the BTS controversy became another chapter in an already messy public image. What's even crazier is how this situation revealed the terrifying power of fandom loyalty in modern entertainment. BTS fans didn't just defend their favorite group emotionally, they defended them strategically. They used trending hashtags, archived interviews, translated old content, and mobilized millions of people globally within hours. That level of organization shocked even media analysts. Suddenly, this wasn't just fans being angry online. It was becoming a real force capable of shaping celebrity reputations and public narratives worldwide. In the end, Machine Gun Kelly never fully escaped the controversy. Even years later, many BTS fans still bring up the incident whenever discussions about disrespect toward BTS appear online. For some people, it was proof that Western artists underestimated BTS because they couldn't accept how fast the global music landscape was changing. For others, it was simply another example of internet outrage spiraling out of control. But one thing is undeniable. After that moment, MGK learned the hard way that casually throwing shade at BTS was no longer a harmless joke. It could become a career-defining mistake almost overnight. And honestly, this was only number 10. Imagine what happened to the artists ranked even higher on this list. Number 9, the Chainsmokers and the interview that sparked suspicion. Back when the Chainsmokers were dominating radio charts with massive party anthems and emotional EDM hits, almost nobody expected them to become part of one of the weirdest controversies connected to BTS. At first, everything actually looked friendly between them. The duo even collaborated with BTS on the song Best of Me, and fans were excited because it felt like another huge moment proving BTS were becoming accepted inside the Western music industry. But then came a series of interviews and comments that slowly made fans uncomfortable. Not because the duo openly attacked BTS in an obvious way, but because people started noticing subtle attitudes, awkward jokes, and strange reactions whenever BTS's global success became the topic. And sometimes, in celebrity culture, subtle disrespect creates even bigger backlash than direct insults. The controversy really started growing after interview clips spread online where members of the Chainsmokers seemed to downplay BTS's role in their collaboration. Some fans felt the duo spoke as if they were doing BTS a favor instead of acknowledging them as equal global artists. Others noticed moments where they sounded surprised, almost confused by how massive BTS's fanbase had become internationally. On the surface, the comments looked harmless, but internet audiences are incredibly sensitive to tone, especially when it comes to BTS, and ARMY immediately began dissecting every word, facial expression, and interview response frame by frame. Suddenly, old clips resurfaced everywhere online. Fans began comparing how the Chainsmokers talked about Western collaborators versus how they talked about BTS. That comparison only made things worse. Many viewers concluded that there was an underlying bias hiding beneath the polite smiles and industry-friendly interviews. Whether that interpretation was completely fair or not didn't even matter anymore. Once suspicion enters internet culture, people start connecting dots incredibly fast. And the deeper fans looked, the more uncomfortable the situation became. What really intensified the backlash was the timing. Around that era, BTS were completely transforming global music history. They weren't just another trending K-pop group anymore. They were selling out stadiums worldwide, breaking streaming records, speaking at the United Nations, and building one of the most loyal fan communities the music industry had ever seen. Meanwhile, many Western artists and producers still didn't fully understand how enormous BTS's influence had become. Some treated them like a temporary internet trend instead of a long-term cultural shift. Fans believe the Chainsmokers fell into that exact mindset, and honestly, that perception damaged their image more than any single quote ever could. Soon, social media turned into a battlefield. Fans started accusing the duo of being opportunistic, acting friendly during collaborations but sounding dismissive afterward once the attention faded. Viral posts claimed they benefited from BTS's popularity without truly respecting them. Some even argued that Western artists loved using BTS for clout while secretly looking down on K-pop behind closed doors. That accusation spread incredibly fast because it connected to a much larger conversation happening online at the time. The idea that parts of the Western music industry still carried hidden prejudice toward Asian artists. Whether intentional or not, the Chainsmokers suddenly became symbolic of that discussion. Another reason the backlash exploded was because fans had extremely high expectations for anyone associated with BTS. Collaborating with BTS wasn't seen as just another business move. Fans viewed it almost like entering a protected circle. If an artist worked with BTS, ARMY expected genuine respect, admiration, and public support afterward. So when interviews started feeling awkward or dismissive, disappointment quickly turned into anger. And disappointment from fans is often more dangerous than hatred from critics because disappointed fans pay attention to every detail. Then came the memes. And honestly, once memes enter a controversy, escaping becomes nearly impossible. TikTok edits comparing BTS's achievements to the Chainsmokers' recent chart performance started going viral. YouTube commentary channels analyzed every interaction between them. Twitter threads with millions of views accused the duo of subtle jealousy. Even people who never watched the original interviews began believing the narrative because the internet repeated it so often that it started feeling true automatically. That's the terrifying power of digital culture now. Repetition creates reality faster than facts sometimes can. What made this situation especially fascinating was how divided public opinion became. Some people argued ARMY completely overreacted and misinterpreted harmless interview moments. Others insisted fans were right to notice hidden disrespect because microaggressions toward Asian artists often appear in subtle ways rather than direct insults. That debate itself became part of the controversy. Suddenly, discussions about the Chainsmokers weren't just about music anymore. They became conversations about cultural respect, Western superiority, and entertainment, and the changing balance of global pop power. And in that environment, every tiny comment became magnified under a microscope. Over time, the controversy slowly faded from mainstream headlines, but the damage to public perception remained. Even today, some BTS fans still mention the Chainsmokers whenever discussions about fake industry friendships appear online. To them, the duo represented artists who underestimated BTS at first and only later realized how unstoppable they had become. Others still believe the entire situation was blown out of proportion by fandom culture. But regardless of which side people support, one thing became crystal clear after this controversy. Once BTS fans feel even the slightest hint of disrespect, the internet transforms into an unstoppable investigation machine. And for the Chainsmokers, a few awkward interviews became enough to permanently connect their name to one of the most uncomfortable fandom backlashes of that era. And somehow, the artist higher on this list created even bigger chaos than this. Number 8. Justin Bieber and the silent rivalry nobody expected. For years, Justin Bieber was seen as untouchable in global pop music. He survived scandals, media hate, public meltdowns, and still managed to dominate charts again and again. Millions of fans grew up watching him become one of the biggest teenage superstars in modern history. So when BTS suddenly started breaking records internationally, many people naturally began comparing them to Bieber's peak popularity. At first, those comparisons looked harmless. Both had insanely loyal fandoms. Both created worldwide fan hysteria. Both changed internet culture in their own eras. But behind the scenes, fans slowly started sensing tension. Not open hatred, not direct attacks. More like an uncomfortable silent rivalry that kept growing bigger every year. And honestly, sometimes silence creates more suspicion than actual words. The controversy surrounding Bieber and BTS became explosive during the period when BTS started smashing records that were once associated with Justin himself. Social media headlines constantly compared streaming numbers, YouTube views, concert demand, and online engagement between the two fandoms. Suddenly, articles everywhere were asking dangerous questions. Is BTS bigger than Justin Bieber? Did BTS replace Bieber as the world's biggest pop phenomenon? Has the music industry entered a new era? Those comparisons created massive pressure because pop culture loves competition narratives. The internet always wants a winner and a loser, and once that narrative began spreading, fans started analyzing every interaction connected to Bieber and BTS with extreme intensity. Things escalated after several incidents involving Bieber's fan base, and BTS fans exploded online. Some believers accused BTS fans of manipulating charts and mass streaming unfairly. Meanwhile, ARMY pushed back hard, arguing that BTS earned their success through genuine global support and non-stop hard work. The fan wars became brutal. Twitter trends turned toxic almost weekly. Old interviews resurfaced constantly, and even though Justin himself rarely directly attacked BTS, many fans felt his silence during those fan wars was suspicious. Some believed he secretly disliked BTS's rise because it challenged the dominance Western pop stars had enjoyed for decades. Then came the industry rumors. Around the late 2000s and early 2020s, insiders and online commentators began discussing how several Western artists privately felt threatened by BTS's rapid success. Remember, BTS weren't just becoming popular internationally, they were rewriting industry rules entirely. They were winning awards once considered impossible for Asian artists. They were topping Billboard charts with Korean language music. They were building fan engagement levels that many American artists couldn't match anymore. For older industry structures, that shift was shocking. And because Justin Bieber represented one of the biggest Western pop empires of the previous generation, people naturally placed him inside those conversations whether he wanted to be there or not. One moment especially fueled fan suspicion. During award show seasons, fans noticed awkward interactions, distant body language, or moments where Bieber appeared uninterested whenever BTS's achievements were mentioned publicly. Were those clips taken out of context? Probably in some cases, but internet culture rarely waits for context. Once a theory starts spreading online, every tiny detail suddenly becomes evidence. Fans created side-by-side videos. Slow-motion reaction clips went viral. YouTube channels built entire narratives around the idea that Bieber quietly resented BTS's success. And because Bieber already had a complicated public image from years of controversy, many casual viewers believed the rumors almost immediately. Another factor that intensified public backlash was the constant comparison between fandom behavior. ARMY was known for being highly organized, emotionally loyal, and globally coordinated online. Meanwhile, Bieber's fandom had already experienced years of internal burnout, internet drama, and fragmentation after Justin's many controversies. Some people started saying BTS represented a new generation of fan culture, while Bieber symbolized an older era losing dominance. That narrative deeply frustrated many believers, which only made online wars even uglier. Suddenly, every chart battle between BTS and Bieber felt personal to fans on both sides, and honestly, the internet thrives on emotional conflict like that. But the real turning point came when some fans accused Bieber's team and associated industry figures of subtly undermining BTS in media conversations. Whether those accusations were true or not remains unclear, but online audiences became convinced there was hidden jealousy inside parts of the Western music industry. The more BTS succeeded, the more people started viewing criticism against them as insecurity rather than honest opinion. That perception made it extremely dangerous for any Western artist to even appear dismissive toward BTS publicly. And because Bieber's name constantly appeared in comparisons with BTS, he became one of the biggest targets of that narrative. Interestingly, Justin himself rarely openly responded to the controversy. In some ways, that silence protected him, but in other ways, it made fans even more suspicious because people kept projecting their own theories onto him. Was he supportive? Was he secretly annoyed? Did he feel replaced? Nobody truly knew. But online culture doesn't need certainty to create controversy anymore. Speculation alone is enough, and once millions of people participate in that speculation daily, the story becomes bigger than reality itself. Over time, the hatred aimed at Bieber during peak fan war periods became intense. Some ARMY members criticized his past scandals, behavior, and public image relentlessly whenever BTS comparisons appeared online. Meanwhile, believers fired back just as aggressively. It became one of the most chaotic fandom rivalries of that era, and even casual internet users started noticing how emotionally invested people became whenever Justin Bieber and BTS were mentioned together. What's fascinating is that this controversy revealed something much deeper than celebrity drama. It exposed a massive generational shift happening in global entertainment. Justin Bieber represented the old model of Western pop superstardom dominating the world. BTS represented a completely new era where global audiences could elevate non-Western artists to the top without needing validation from traditional American industry systems. That cultural shift made some people excited and made others deeply uncomfortable, and because Bieber's name stood so closely connected to the old era of global pop dominance, he inevitably became part of the backlash surrounding BTS's rise. In the end, whether Justin Bieber truly disliked BTS or not almost became irrelevant. Public perception had already created its own story, and once internet narratives reach that level, escaping them becomes almost impossible. But unbelievably, the singers ranked above Bieber created controversies that became even more explosive, emotional, and damaging than this one.
Number 7. Ariana Grande and the award show controversy. When Ariana Grande entered the peak of her career, she wasn't just a pop star anymore. She was a global phenomenon. Her vocals, fashion, social media presence, and loyal fan base made her one of the most influential artists of her generation. At the same time, BTS were exploding internationally faster than almost anyone expected. Both artists dominated headlines constantly. Both had massive online fandoms willing to defend them at all costs. So honestly, it was only a matter of time before the internet started turning their names into competition. And once that happened, things became unbelievably messy. The controversy surrounding Ariana and BTS didn't begin with one huge insult or direct attack. That's what made the situation so fascinating. Instead, it grew slowly through awkward award show moments, fan interpretations, social media behavior, and one dangerous thing the internet loves more than anything else: comparisons. Fans constantly argued about who had stronger vocals, bigger cultural impact, better stage performances, and more loyal supporters. At first, it looked like normal stan culture, but over time, tensions escalated into something far more toxic. The biggest turning point happened during major American award shows, where Ariana and BTS appeared around the same period. Online audiences began obsessively analyzing every tiny interaction. If Ariana didn't publicly mention BTS, people noticed. If cameras caught a neutral facial expression during a BTS performance, fans turned it into evidence. If BTS won an award over another Western artist, social media exploded instantly. And because Ariana was one of the biggest female pop stars in America at the time, her name constantly became part of those arguments, whether she wanted it or not. One moment especially fueled massive backlash online. During a high-profile award season, fans started spreading theories that Ariana's fandom and certain pop media accounts were subtly shading BTS after the group received major international recognition. Soon, viral posts accused Ariana's supporters of mocking BTS's achievements and treating them like an internet trend rather than serious artists. ARMY retaliated immediately. Twitter became absolute chaos. Hashtags trended worldwide for hours. Fan edits comparing BTS's accomplishments to Ariana's achievements flooded TikTok and YouTube. Suddenly, what started as ordinary fan competition turned into a full-scale internet war. But here's where things became really uncomfortable. Some BTS fans began accusing parts of Western pop culture of refusing to fully accept Asian artists at the top of global entertainment. They argued that BTS faced double standards constantly, praised when convenient, but still treated as outsiders compared to American pop stars. Because Ariana represented mainstream American pop royalty at the time, she unintentionally became symbolic of that larger debate. Even though she rarely spoke negatively about BTS directly, many fans believed her silence during toxic fan wars allowed hostility toward BTS to grow unchecked. And on the internet, silence often gets interpreted as hidden agreement. Another reason the backlash intensified was because Ariana's image had already become deeply tied to internet stan culture. Her fandom was massive, emotional, and extremely active online. Unfortunately, that also meant fan wars involving Ariana often became aggressive very quickly. Once ARMY and Arianators started clashing regularly, every tiny incident became magnified beyond reason. A random tweet could trigger worldwide arguments overnight. A misunderstood joke could create headlines across entertainment blogs. Even harmless interactions became proof for conspiracy theories fans already wanted to believe. That's how modern fandom culture works now. Emotion spreads faster than reality. Then came the performance comparisons. And honestly, this was where things truly exploded. BTS's live performances were becoming legendary internationally because of their choreography, synchronization, and stage intensity. Meanwhile, Ariana was praised for vocal power and emotional delivery. Instead of appreciating both styles separately, fans turned everything into a battle. Which artist worked harder? Which fandom was stronger? Which performances were more real? Those debates became vicious because both fandoms felt emotionally attached to defending their favorite artists' legitimacy. At some points, the arguments became so intense that even casual music listeners started getting pulled into the chaos. What made this controversy especially strange was that Ariana herself occasionally showed positive interactions connected to BTS publicly. Photos, event moments, and industry interactions suggested there wasn't necessarily personal hatred between them at all. But by then, public perception had already escaped reality. Fans weren't reacting to actual relationships anymore. They were reacting to narratives built online through thousands of viral posts, edited clips, and emotional fan discussions. Once the internet creates a rivalry story, every new interaction gets filtered through that storyline automatically. Another factor people often forget is how dramatically BTS changed the power structure of global entertainment during that era. Before BTS, Western pop stars largely controlled international mainstream attention without serious competition from non-English artists. But BTS shattered those expectations completely. They proved that language barriers didn't matter as much anymore. They built one of the strongest fan communities in internet history, and they dominated online engagement in ways that terrified traditional media systems. For some Western fan bases, BTS's rise felt exciting, but for others, it felt threatening because it disrupted the hierarchy they were used to. Ariana's fandom became caught directly in the middle of that cultural shift. Over time, Ariana herself received waves of criticism from BTS fans whenever new comparisons or fan wars erupted online. Some accused her fandom of disrespect. Others claimed Western media favored artists like Ariana while undermining BTS's achievements. And because internet outrage constantly needs a target, Ariana often became one of the biggest names dragged into those discussions. Whether fair or unfair, the backlash stuck to her image for years within certain parts of online fandom culture. What's truly fascinating is that this entire controversy revealed how little control celebrities sometimes have over their own public narratives. Ariana and BTS could simply attend the same event, smile politely, and move on with their lives. Meanwhile, millions of fans online would spend weeks turning that tiny interaction into a global internet conflict. That's the terrifying scale of modern fandom psychology. At some point, the story stops belonging to the celebrities entirely. The internet takes ownership of it. And in Ariana Grande's case, being one of the biggest Western pop stars during BTS's global rise automatically made her part of one of the most emotionally charged fandom rivalries of that generation. And somehow, the artist ranked above her caused even more outrage than this.
Number 6, Post Malone and the real music debate. When Post Malone first exploded into mainstream music, people loved him because he felt different. He didn't look polished like traditional pop stars. He mixed rap, rock, country, and emotional melodies into one chaotic style that somehow worked perfectly. Fans saw him as authentic, unpredictable, and brutally honest in interviews, but sometimes honesty becomes dangerous, especially when the internet thinks you're disrespecting BTS. And that's exactly where everything started going going wrong for him. The controversy began after several clips and interview discussions spread online where fans believe Post Malone was subtly dismissing modern pop fandom culture and artists heavily associated with it. He talked about real emotion in music, criticized manufactured industry trends, and questioned whether chart success truly represented artistic depth anymore. On paper, those comments weren't directly aimed at BTS. In fact, he never openly launched a direct attack against them, but online audiences immediately connected his words to BTS because, during that period, BTS were dominating charts, social media, streaming numbers, and fandom-driven online engagement at levels the Western industry had never seen before. Suddenly, fans began asking, was Post Malone secretly calling BTS fake? And once that question appeared online, chaos followed instantly. What made the backlash explode so quickly was timing. BTS were already facing constant criticism from parts of Western media that treated them like a temporary trend instead of genuine artists. Some critics dismissed them as manufactured idols. Others mocked their fandom size rather than discussing their actual music. So when Post Malone made comments about authenticity and industry-driven music, many ARMY members immediately interpreted it as another indirect attack coming from an American artist uncomfortable with BTS's success. The internet doesn't wait for clarification anymore. It builds narratives at lightning speed. Within hours, viral tweets accused Post Malone of being jealous of BTS's global dominance. Fan accounts started resurfacing old interviews, awkward quotes, and controversial opinions connected to him. YouTube creators uploaded dramatic analysis videos with titles implying Post Malone exposed his true feelings about BTS. TikTok edits comparing BTS's achievements to Post Malone's chart records flooded social media feeds. And honestly, once TikTok joins a controversy, it becomes nearly impossible to control because millions of people start consuming emotional narratives in tiny addictive clips without context. But here's the deeper reason the backlash became so emotional. BTS fans felt exhausted from constantly defending the group's legitimacy in Western spaces. Think about it. BTS were already proving themselves repeatedly through sold-out stadium tours, Billboard #1s, historic award wins, and global cultural influence. Yet despite all that success, some Western artists and commentators still talked about them like they weren't real musicians. That frustration had been building for years. So when Post Malone's comments about authenticity circulated online, many fans exploded because they believed they had heard this kind of coded criticism too many times already. And because Post Malone's image was built around being real and raw, the accusations against him felt especially symbolic. Another factor that intensified the controversy was Post Malone's own complicated relationship with music genres and industry criticism. He had already faced backlash before for comments involving hip-hop culture and authenticity debates. Some people felt he benefited from certain genres while distancing himself from them whenever criticism appeared. Because of that history, fans were more willing to believe he could also hold dismissive attitudes toward BTS or idol culture. In internet culture, past controversies never truly disappear. They wait quietly until a new scandal arrives, then everything resurfaces at once. Soon, online discussions transformed into a much bigger debate about what people consider real music. Some argued BTS deserved more artistic respect because they actively participated in songwriting, production, and storytelling while enduring insane schedules and public pressure. Others defended Post Malone by saying he never directly insulted BTS at all, and fans were simply projecting frustrations onto him unfairly. But by then, nuance had already disappeared. The internet had divided itself into sides, and emotional loyalty mattered more than objective interpretation. One of the most interesting parts of this controversy was how it exposed cultural differences in how audiences viewed pop music itself. Western critics often separated serious artists from highly commercial pop acts, but BTS complicated that entire system because they were simultaneously massive commercial superstars and deeply involved in the creative side of their music. Their lyrics addressed mental health, loneliness, pressure, self-worth, and youth struggles in ways many fans connected with emotionally. So when artists like Post Malone talked about real emotion in music, ARMY felt defensive because they believed BTS represented exactly that emotional honesty already. To them, dismissing BTS as manufactured pop stars ignored the deeper storytelling inside their music completely. As the controversy kept growing, memes and fan edits turned Post Malone into a recurring target during online fan wars. Others compared performance energy, songwriting credits, or fan engagement statistics between him and BTS. Casual internet users who weren't even deeply invested in either artist began participating because the controversy perfectly matched one of social media's favorite narratives: old industry attitudes versus a changing global music culture. And honestly, BTS symbolized that cultural change more than almost anyone else at the time. What's fascinating is that Post Malone himself rarely escalated the situation publicly. Unlike some celebrities who fight directly with fans online, he mostly stayed quiet. But sometimes silence doesn't calm internet outrage. Sometimes it allows fans to keep building theories without interruption. Was he misunderstood? Was he secretly shading BTS? Did the internet completely exaggerate everything? People debated those questions endlessly, but emotionally, many fans had already decided what they believed. And once emotional narratives lock into place online, facts become secondary. In the end, the controversy permanently attached Post Malone's name to discussions about Western artists allegedly disrespecting BTS, even though the situation remained far more ambiguous than many other scandals on this list. Still, the backlash showed something terrifying about modern fandom culture. Even indirect comments about music authenticity can trigger massive international outrage if audiences believe their favorite artists are being undermined. And somehow, the artists ranked above Post Malone created controversies so explosive that the internet reaction became even more brutal than this. Number 5. Katy Perry and the tweet fans never forgot. There was a time when Katy Perry ruled pop culture almost effortlessly. Her songs dominated radio stations worldwide. Her music videos broke records. Her colorful image made her feel larger than life. For years, she represented the peak of American pop superstardom. But then something unexpected happened. The global music landscape started changing faster than anyone imagined, and BTS became one of the biggest symbols of that change. Suddenly, artists from outside the traditional Western industry system were competing directly with American superstars on the global stage. And for some people online, Katy Perry became one of the faces of the old pop industry that BTS fans believed secretly resented this new era. The controversy surrounding Katy and BTS exploded because of something deceptively simple: social media behavior. In the age of stan culture, even a single tweet, like, emoji, or follow can trigger worldwide drama within minutes. And that's exactly what happened here. Fans began accusing Katy Perry of indirectly shading BTS during periods when conversations about chart dominance and award recognition were becoming extremely intense online. Some people believed certain tweets and reactions from her social media activity carried subtle sarcasm aimed at BTS fans, or the group's overwhelming online power. Were the posts directly about BTS? Not always, but internet culture doesn't need certainty anymore. It survives on implication, suspicion, and emotional interpretation. Once ARMY believed Katy was mocking or underestimating BTS supporters, the backlash became unstoppable. What made the situation especially explosive was timing. Around that era, BTS were achieving milestones many Western artists once considered impossible for non-English acts. They were topping the Billboard charts, selling out stadiums globally, and building one of the most organized online fandoms in entertainment history. Meanwhile, some longtime American pop stars were beginning to experience declining chart dominance compared to the explosive engagement BTS generated online. Fans started viewing BTS as representatives of a massive industry shift, one where Western gatekeepers no longer controlled global popularity completely. And because Katy Perry symbolized classic American pop success, every interaction involving her became emotionally charged inside those conversations. Things escalated dramatically after fan accounts began compiling screenshots and theories suggesting Katy subtly mocked stan culture connected to BTS. Twitter threads spread like wildfire. TikTok creators started making dramatic edits implying she felt threatened by BTS's success. YouTube commentary channels analyzed her interviews, tweets, and award show appearances searching for hidden shade. Suddenly, the internet had built a giant narrative. Katy Perry represented an older generation of Western pop stars struggling to accept BTS's rise. Whether that narrative was accurate barely mattered anymore. Online audiences repeated it so often that millions of people started believing it automatically. And honestly, repetition is one of the strongest weapons internet culture has. Another reason the backlash became so personal was because BTS fans were already emotionally exhausted from years of seeing the group dismissed by certain Western commentators. ARMY constantly felt like BTS had to prove themselves twice as hard to receive the same respect given naturally to American artists. So whenever a famous Western celebrity appeared even slightly dismissive, fans reacted intensely because they saw it as part of a larger pattern. To them, this wasn't just about Katy Perry anymore. It was about cultural respect, representation, and the refusal of some Western entertainment circles to fully acknowledge Asian artists as equals at the top of pop music. And once conversations become tied to identity and fairness, emotions become much stronger than ordinary celebrity drama. What's fascinating is that Katy Perry herself rarely openly attacked BTS directly. In fact, some people argued the entire controversy was exaggerated by stan culture completely out of proportion, but that didn't stop public perception from shifting. Once the internet labels someone as anti-BTS, escaping that reputation becomes incredibly difficult because fans continue revisiting old moments repeatedly. Every neutral expression at an award show becomes suspicious. Every vague tweet becomes evidence. Every interview gets analyzed like a detective investigation. That's the terrifying intensity of modern fandom spaces. Another major factor was the generational divide happening in music fandoms at the time. Katy Perry represented the peak era of radio-driven American pop dominance during the early 2000s. BTS represented a new internet-powered generation where social media engagement could overpower traditional industry systems entirely. Younger global audiences connected deeply with BTS because they felt authentic, emotionally vulnerable, and directly interactive with fans online. Meanwhile, some older pop industry structures struggled to adapt to this new reality. So when conflicts emerged between BTS fans and established American artists, people often interpreted it symbolically, like a battle between the old music industry and the new internet era. Katy unintentionally became trapped inside that symbolism. Soon, memes flooded social media mocking Katy's declining chart performance compared to BTS's explosive success. Fanwars became ruthless. Some ARMY members accused her of jealousy. Others criticized Western media for protecting American pop stars while scrutinizing BTS unfairly. Meanwhile, Katy's supporters argued she was being unfairly targeted by obsessive fandom culture. The arguments became so widespread that even casual internet users who weren't deeply involved in stan culture started recognizing the controversy instantly. And once casual audiences become aware of internet drama, the reputational damage often becomes permanent. What makes this story especially interesting is how little direct confrontation actually existed between Katy Perry and BTS themselves. Most of the chaos was built through interpretation, fandom psychology, and internet narratives growing larger than reality. That's what makes modern celebrity culture so dangerous. Sometimes celebrities aren't fighting each other at all, but millions of fans online create a war anyway, and eventually that imagined conflict becomes emotionally real to audiences across the world. In the end, Katy Perry became one of the most frequently mentioned Western pop stars whenever discussions about celebrities allegedly disrespecting BTS appeared online. Fairly or unfairly, her image became tied to the idea of older American pop culture resisting a changing global music landscape. And honestly, the names ranked above her triggered backlash so massive that this controversy almost looks small in comparison.
Number 4. Billie Eilish and the no respect accusation. When Billie Eilish first appeared in the music industry, people immediately saw her as different. She didn't follow the traditional pop star formula. She looked uncomfortable with fame, spoke casually in interviews, and built her image around honesty instead of perfection. That authenticity made millions of fans love her instantly. But, ironically, it was also the reason one of her biggest controversies connected to BTS exploded so fast online. Because when someone known for being real appears even slightly dismissive toward BTS, fans take it extremely personally. The controversy started during a period when Billie's popularity was skyrocketing globally, at almost the exact same time BTS were dominating international entertainment. Both artists represented a new generation reshaping music culture through internet-driven fandoms. Both had deeply emotional fan bases. Both were praised for connecting with young audiences struggling with loneliness, pressure, and identity. On paper, they should have been natural allies in the modern music scene. But instead, internet culture transformed them into rivals almost overnight. And honestly, most of the chaos began from something incredibly small: facial expressions, awkward interviews, and silence. One moment especially fueled massive backlash online. During an interview in award show season, fans noticed Billie appearing unfamiliar or indifferent whenever BTS-related topics appeared around her. Some clips showed her reacting awkwardly when BTS were mentioned. Others showed neutral expressions during award segments involving the group. To normal people, those moments probably meant absolutely nothing. But to stan culture, those tiny reactions became the beginning of a massive internet investigation. Suddenly, TikTok edits slowed down her expressions frame by frame. Twitter threads accused her of acting dismissive toward BTS's achievements. YouTube videos with dramatic titles claimed Billie secretly looked down on K-pop culture. And because social media algorithms reward outrage, those narratives spread unbelievably fast. What made the backlash especially intense was the emotional context surrounding BTS at the time. ARMY already felt exhausted from years of Western media treating BTS differently compared to American artists. Fans constantly saw critics reduce BTS to screaming fangirls, internet trends, or manufactured idols despite the group's undeniable global success. So when Billie appeared emotionally detached during moments involving BTS, some fans interpreted it as another example of Western artists refusing to fully respect Asian performers dominating the industry. Whether Billie intended that message or not became irrelevant. The internet had already decided on its story. Another reason the controversy exploded was because Billie's own image centered around emotional authenticity and empathy. Fans expected her to be more open-minded and supportive toward other artists, challenging industry norms. Remember, Billie herself often spoke about pressure, mental health, and feeling misunderstood by media expectations, themes BTS also explored heavily in their music. Because of that similarity, many ARMY members felt genuinely disappointed by the idea that she might secretly dismiss them, and disappointment always creates stronger emotional reactions than simple hatred. People feel betrayed by artists they expected to understand them. Then came the fan wars, and honestly, this was where the situation spiraled completely out of control. Billie's fandom and ARMY started clashing across every platform imaginable. Spotify numbers, Grammy wins, chart rankings, album sales, stage performances, everything became ammunition. Some fans argued Billie received more critical respect from Western media despite BTS achieving equal or bigger global impact. Others claimed BTS fans were overreacting and unfairly targeting Billie for harmless behavior. But once fandom wars become emotionally tribal, logic disappears quickly. Nobody wants nuance anymore. They want victory. The controversy intensified even further after old clips and comments resurfaced online. Fans began analyzing every past interaction Billie had with K-pop culture generally. Some accused her of subtle cultural bias. Others defended her by saying she simply looked nervous or socially awkward in public situations, something Billie herself had openly discussed before. But social media rarely rewards balanced explanations. Extreme interpretations spread much faster because they create stronger emotional engagement. And unfortunately for Billie, the narrative that she disrespected BTS became incredibly viral. What's fascinating is how much of this controversy depended on internet psychology rather than direct conflict. Billie never launched a huge public attack against BTS. There was no explosive interview where she openly insulted them, yet millions of people online still became convinced tension existed between them. That's how powerful modern stan culture has become. Fans can build enormous emotional narratives out of tiny fragments of behavior until those narratives feel more real than reality itself. Another hidden layer behind this backlash involved the changing balance of power in global entertainment. Billie represented a new wave of Western alternative pop artists dominating critical acclaim and award culture. BTS represented global fan-driven success, reshaping international music economics completely. Both symbolize the future of entertainment in different ways. So naturally, the internet pushed them into competition. Fans debated who had deeper artistry, more meaningful lyrics, stronger fan loyalty, and greater cultural impact. Eventually, Billie herself became trapped inside a much larger discussion about how Western media treated non-Western artists overall. Soon, memes mocking Billie spread rapidly whenever BTS-related fan wars erupted. Some posts accused her of arrogance. Others claimed she ignored BTS because she couldn't accept their success. Meanwhile, Billie's supporters argued ARMY constantly searched for reasons to feel offended and weaponized harmless moments unfairly. The divide became so intense that even neutral audiences started noticing how emotionally explosive any discussion involving Billie and BTS had become online. And once controversies reach casual audiences, reputational damage spreads far beyond fandom spaces. Over time, the outrage slowly cooled down, but the association never fully disappeared. Even years later, some BTS fans still bring up Billie Eilish whenever conversations about Western celebrities allegedly disrespecting BTS resurface online. To many ARMY members, she became symbolic of a deeper frustration, the feeling that BTS still struggled to receive equal respect from parts of the Western entertainment industry despite changing global music forever. Whether that perception was fair to Billie personally remains heavily debated even today. But one thing became undeniable after this controversy. In the internet era, even a facial expression lasting 2 seconds can permanently reshape public perception worldwide. And unbelievably, Number 3. Miley Cyrus and the comment that ignited ARMY. There are celebrities who accidentally enter controversy. And then there are celebrities like Miley Cyrus, whose public image has always thrived on unpredictability. For years, Miley built a reputation for saying whatever she wanted without filtering herself. Sometimes people loved her honesty. Sometimes people thought she went too far. But when her name became connected to controversy involving BTS, the internet reaction became far more explosive than almost anyone expected. Because unlike some artists on this list whose scandals came from subtle behavior or fan interpretation, Miley's situation felt more personal, louder, and emotionally charged from the very beginning. The backlash started after interview moments and online discussions spread where fans believed Miley was mocking or dismissing aspects of BTS's image and fandom culture. Some clips showed her making jokes about obsessive fan behavior and pop culture generally, but online audiences quickly connected those remarks to BTS because ARMY was dominating internet conversations globally during that era. Then came the comparisons. Media outlets constantly placed Miley and BTS inside discussions about global influence, fandom power, and cultural dominance. Suddenly, everything she said publicly started getting examined under a microscope by millions of fans already prepared to defend BTS aggressively. And honestly, Miley's sarcastic personality made the situation even worse because sarcasm rarely survives internet culture intact. What might sound playful in a casual interview can become brutal once clipped into a 10-second viral video online. One specific moment especially intensified the outrage. During a public discussion involving modern music trends and fan culture, viewers interpreted Miley's tone as dismissive toward highly organized fandoms and heavily image-driven pop acts. That alone might not have caused major chaos normally. But because BTS fans already felt sensitive about years of Western media stereotyping their fandom as crazy teenagers, the reaction exploded instantly. ARMY believed Miley was indirectly mocking not only BTS, but the millions of fans supporting them worldwide. And once fandoms feel personally insulted, controversies become emotional extremely fast. Within hours, Twitter turned into absolute warfare. Fans began resurfacing old Miley Cyrus controversies from throughout her career. Past interviews, scandals, provocative performances, and accusations of cultural appropriation flooded timelines everywhere. TikTok creators stitched together dramatic edits portraying Miley as another Western celebrity uncomfortable with BTS's global success. YouTube commentary channels uploaded videos analyzing whether her comments reflected a deeper pattern of disrespect toward Asian artists in Western entertainment spaces. The internet had officially chosen its narrative. And once that happens, stopping the momentum becomes nearly impossible. What made the backlash especially powerful was the timing in BTS's career. By this point, BTS were no longer simply a successful K-pop group. They had become symbols of cultural change itself. They were proving non-English artists could dominate global charts without fully adapting to Western expectations. They were speaking at the United Nations, influencing social conversations worldwide, and building one of the strongest digital fandoms in entertainment history. For many ARMY members, defending BTS felt bigger than defending musicians. It felt like defending representation, respect, and global recognition for Asian artists long underestimated by Western media industries. So when Miley appeared dismissive, fans interpreted it as part of a much larger cultural problem rather than just celebrity drama. Another reason the controversy spiraled so aggressively was because Miley already had a deeply polarizing public reputation. Unlike artists with carefully controlled images, Miley had spent years creating headlines through controversy, rebellion, and shocking moments. That history made it easier for online audiences to believe negative narratives about her. In internet culture, once someone becomes associated with chaos, people instinctively assume new controversies fit the pattern. So when BTS fans accused her of disrespect, many casual observers accepted the accusation immediately, without even watching the full interviews themselves. And honestly, that's one of the scariest parts of online outrage today. Public perception spreads faster than actual context. Soon, fan wars between ARMY and Miley supporters became unbelievably toxic. Streaming numbers, concert attendance, award wins, chart records, everything turned into ammunition. Some BTS fans mocked Miley's controversies and unstable public image. Meanwhile, her supporters accused ARMY of behaving like an uncontrollable mob, searching for reasons to attack celebrities constantly. Neutral audiences watching from outside fandom spaces became fascinated by how emotionally intense these battles looked online. And once casual internet users start paying attention to fan wars, the controversy expands far beyond the original issue. What's fascinating is that Miley herself represents an older style of celebrity culture built around rebellion against public expectations. BTS represented something entirely different: discipline, teamwork, emotional storytelling, and carefully maintained group identity. In many ways, they symbolized opposite philosophies of fame. Miley's career often embraced chaos and unpredictability. BTS's image focused heavily on connection, resilience, and emotional sincerity with fans. Because of that contrast, online audiences naturally framed them as cultural opposites, even when direct conflict barely existed. Another hidden layer behind the outrage involved generational shifts inside global entertainment. Older Western celebrity culture often relied on shock value, tabloid headlines, and individual star power. BTS's rise showed the power of internet community building, emotional transparency, and highly organized global fandoms. Some people online began viewing Miley as symbolic of the old celebrity system, while BTS represented a new future shaped directly by fan engagement. That symbolism made every controversy between them feel larger than ordinary entertainment gossip. Over time, Miley's name became permanently attached to discussions about Western celebrities allegedly disrespecting BTS and their fandom. Even years later, clips connected to the controversy still resurface whenever conversations about anti-BTS attitudes appear online. Some people continue defending Miley, arguing her comments were misunderstood and exaggerated massively by stan culture. Others believe her sarcastic personality crossed lines she didn't fully understand at the time. But regardless of interpretation, the backlash showed something undeniable. Underestimating the emotional loyalty of BTS fans could transform even casual celebrity comments into global controversies almost overnight. And somehow, the top two names on this list created reactions even more explosive than Miley Cyrus did. Number 2, Halsey and the friendship fans thought was fake. At first, the relationship between Halsey and BTS looked like one of the most genuine international friendships in modern music. Fans loved seeing them together. Their collaboration on Boy with Luv became a massive global moment. Behind-the-scenes clips showed laughter, support, and chemistry that felt natural instead of forced. For a while, ARMY genuinely believed Halsey was one of the few American artists who truly respected BTS beyond business opportunities. And honestly, that's exactly why the backlash later became so emotional. Because disappointment always hurts more than open hatred. The controversy started quietly. At first, fans only noticed small things. Halsey stopped interacting publicly with BTS as often as before. Interviews became less enthusiastic. Social media activity changed. Some fans began asking strange questions online. Why does the friendship suddenly feel distant? Did something happen behind the scenes? Was the connection always just promotional? Normally those questions would disappear quickly. But in internet fandom culture, silence creates theories faster than facts. Soon, TikTok edits, Twitter threads, and YouTube speculation videos started spreading everywhere. People began analyzing every past interaction between Halsey and BTS frame by frame, searching for hidden tension. And once fans start looking for cracks in a celebrity friendship, they almost always find something to obsess over. Things exploded after several interview moments and industry discussions made fans feel Halsey was slowly distancing herself from BTS publicly. Some ARMY members believe she stopped showing the same visible support once BTS became even bigger internationally. Others accused her of benefiting from BTS's massive fan base during collaborations and then quietly moving on when it was no longer useful for her image. That accusation hit incredibly hard because ARMY had emotionally invested in the idea that Halsey genuinely cared about the group. To many fans, she wasn't supposed to be just another Western celebrity. She was supposed to be different. Another factor that intensified the backlash was the way Halsey's image had always centered around emotional authenticity. She openly discussed mental health struggles, identity, loneliness, and feeling misunderstood by the industry, themes BTS also explored deeply in their music. Fans believed there was a real emotional connection between them artistically. So when suspicions of fake friendship started spreading online, disappointment transformed into anger almost immediately. Some fans began accusing her of using BTS for clout during key moments in her career. Others claimed Western artists loved collaborating with BTS only when it benefited them commercially but failed to fully support them afterward. Suddenly, Halsey became symbolic of a much larger frustration ARMY already carried for years. The internet turned ruthless, unbelievably fast. Old interviews resurfaced. Every social media interaction got dissected obsessively. Fans compared how Halsey promoted other artists versus how she interacted with BTS over time. If she liked another celebrity's post but ignored BTS-related content, people noticed instantly. If she attended certain industry events without mentioning BTS, theories exploded online again. And honestly, this is where modern fandom culture becomes terrifying. Audiences no longer consume celebrity relationships passively. They investigate them emotionally, like detectives trying to uncover betrayal. One moment especially fueled the outrage further. During periods when BTS faced criticism or industry struggles in Western media spaces, some fans expected Halsey to defend them more publicly because of their past friendship. When that support didn't appear as strongly as fans hoped, disappointment became interpreted as abandonment. Was that expectation fair? Maybe not completely. But emotionally, many fans felt hurt because they had projected genuine loyalty onto the friendship for years. And once emotional expectations collapse online, backlash spreads with shocking intensity. What made this controversy so painful compared to others on the list was that ARMY once viewed Halsey positively. This wasn't a celebrity fans already disliked suddenly becoming controversial. This felt more like betrayal. Fans replayed old BTS Halsey moments wondering whether the chemistry had ever been real at all. Some even accused the entertainment industry of manufacturing fake friendships purely for marketing purposes. That idea spread rapidly because audiences had already grown skeptical about celebrity authenticity generally. In the social media era, people constantly question whether public friendships are genuine or simply strategic branding. The controversy also exposed how differently fans interpret celebrity relationships compared to the celebrities themselves. To BTS and Halsey, their collaboration may simply have been a meaningful professional connection during a certain period of time, but to millions of fans online, it became emotionally symbolic. People attached personal meaning to their interactions. They saw representation, mutual respect, and cultural connection between East and West. So when the friendship appeared less visible later, fans reacted emotionally because it felt like losing something they believed in. Another reason the backlash became so severe was because BTS's rise changed expectations for international collaborations completely. Before BTS, many Western artists treated collaborations with Asian acts as niche crossover experiments. But BTS shattered that perception. Collaborating with them suddenly meant exposure to one of the largest and most passionate fan bases on Earth. Because of that, ARMY became extremely protective about artists they felt were using BTS temporarily for attention. Halsey unfortunately became one of the biggest targets of that suspicion once the friendship narrative started collapsing online. Soon, fan wars intensified everywhere. Some people defended Halsey fiercely, arguing fans were being possessive and unrealistic about celebrity relationships. Others insisted the criticism was justified because her behavior genuinely changed after benefiting from BTS's popularity. The arguments became so emotionally charged that even neutral audiences started noticing how sensitive discussions involving Halsey and BTS had become. And once controversies escape fandom spaces into mainstream internet culture, the reputational impact becomes much harder to escape. Over time, Halsey's name became permanently linked to conversations about celebrities allegedly becoming distant from BTS after gaining visibility through them. Fairly or unfairly, many fans never fully forgave what they saw as emotional inconsistency. And honestly, what makes this story tragic is that there may never have been real hostility between Halsey and BTS at all. Much of the chaos came from expectations, projections, and internet narratives growing beyond reality itself. But that's exactly what makes fandom culture so powerful and so dangerous. Sometimes the emotional story fans create becomes stronger than the truth, and unbelievably, the #1 artist on this list triggered backlash so massive that it completely overshadowed every controversy before it. Number 1, Charlie Puth and the collaboration that turned into chaos. At one point, Charlie Puth looked like one of the American artists closest to BTS publicly. Fans loved seeing their interactions. Their stage moments together went viral instantly. Interviews felt friendly. Collaborations created massive excitement online. Honestly, many ARMY members once believed Charlie genuinely respected BTS more than most Western artists did. But that's exactly why the backlash later became absolutely explosive. Because when fans feel emotionally betrayed by someone they trusted, the reaction becomes far more brutal than simple hate. And Charlie Puth learned that lesson the hard way. The controversy truly exploded after years of growing suspicion online surrounding his interactions with BTS members, especially around collaborations, interviews, and fan speculation involving Jungkook. At first, things looked positive. Charlie and Jungkook performed together, praised each other publicly, and created moments fans replayed millions of times online. The chemistry between them generated enormous attention internationally. Many fans celebrated it as proof that BTS were finally being embraced naturally inside the American music industry. But over time, the internet started changing the narrative completely, and once that happened, everything spiraled out of control. One major turning point came when fans began accusing Charlie of behaving differently toward BTS, depending on publicity cycles and industry trends. Some ARMY members believed he only appeared highly supportive when collaborations or performances benefited him publicly. Others accused him of creating vague interactions online that encouraged fan speculation for attention. Small moments that once looked harmless suddenly became suspicious. Every tweet, Instagram interaction, interview clip, or deleted post became evidence inside giant online conspiracy theories. And honestly, the internet became obsessed with analyzing Charlie Puth's relationship with BTS in ways that went far beyond normal fandom behavior. Then came the accusations that truly detonated the controversy. Some fans started claiming Charlie subtly encouraged shipping culture and fan fantasies involving Jungkook because he knew it generated massive engagement online. Whether intentional or not, those narratives spread unbelievably fast across TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. Soon, fan communities began arguing that Charlie was exploiting BTS fandom culture strategically for visibility. That accusation hit especially hard because ARMY already felt extremely protective over how Western media and celebrities interacted with BTS members individually. To many fans, BTS weren't just entertainers. They represented years of hard work, emotional vulnerability, and cultural respect. So when audiences believed someone was using those connections opportunistically, the backlash became deeply personal. Another reason the controversy exploded was because Charlie Puth's online behavior often felt unpredictable and emotionally reactive. Unlike celebrities with carefully controlled PR images, Charlie sometimes posted impulsively, responded emotionally, or interacted casually with fan conversations online. Normally, that made him seem relatable. But during controversy, it became dangerous. Fans analyzed every word obsessively. If Charlie tweeted vaguely after BTS-related discussions, people assumed it carried hidden meaning. If he deleted something, conspiracy theories multiplied instantly. The internet transformed into a non-stop investigation machine. And once millions of emotionally invested fans participate in that process simultaneously, public narratives become impossible to control. What made the backlash especially massive compared to other artists on this list was the emotional closeness fans once believed existed between Charlie and BTS. This wasn't an outsider criticizing BTS openly. This was someone many fans once welcomed enthusiastically. That sense of betrayal made reactions far more intense. Some ARMY members accused Charlie of clout chasing. Others claimed he acted differently depending on which audience benefited him most publicly. Old interviews resurfaced constantly. Fans compared how he spoke about BTS across different years and contexts, searching for inconsistencies. And because social media rewards outrage and emotional storytelling, the most dramatic interpretations spread fastest every single time. Then things became even messier when shipping communities and fandom divisions entered the situation. Online spaces involving Jungkook-related fan theories grew incredibly intense, and Charlie's name became deeply entangled in those discussions. Suddenly, the controversy wasn't just about music collaborations anymore. It became connected to fandom obsession, parasocial attachment, celebrity boundaries, and internet manipulation culture. Some fans believe Charlie intentionally fueled attention for engagement. Others argued the internet completely exaggerated harmless interactions into something toxic. But by then, nuance had disappeared entirely. Emotion controlled the conversation now. Another hidden reason this controversy became so enormous was timing. BTS had already reached a level of global success where every interaction with Western celebrities carried symbolic weight. Fans constantly worried about exploitation, disrespect, or performative support from American artists trying to benefit from BTS's influence. And because Charlie repeatedly appeared connected to BTS publicly over several years, fans scrutinized his behavior more intensely than almost anyone else. He wasn't treated like a random celebrity anymore. Fans expected loyalty, consistency, and genuine respect from him at all times. The pressure became enormous. Soon, TikTok edits mocking Charlie Puth spread everywhere. YouTube commentary channels uploaded videos accusing him of manipulating fandom attention. Twitter fan wars exploded daily. Some ARMY members criticized his music career, public image, and social media behavior relentlessly. Meanwhile, Charlie's supporters argued BTS fans had become obsessive and unfairly aggressive towards someone who genuinely admired the group. The divide became so chaotic that even casual internet users started recognizing the controversy immediately whenever Charlie Puth's name appeared online. And once casual audiences associate a celebrity with drama repeatedly, reputational damage becomes extremely difficult to escape. What's fascinating and honestly kind of tragic is that much of this chaos grew from emotional projection rather than clear public hostility. Charlie Puth never launched some massive anti-BTS campaign. There was no single explosive moment where he openly attacked them directly. Instead, the controversy evolved slowly through suspicion, fan expectations, internet speculation, and constantly shifting online narratives. But in modern fandom culture, perception often matters more than reality itself. Once enough people emotionally believe someone is fake, opportunistic, or disrespectful, reversing that perception becomes nearly impossible. In the end, Charlie Puth became one of the most controversial Western celebrities ever associated with BTS fandom spaces. To some fans, he represented the perfect example of how American artists benefited from BTS's popularity without fully understanding the emotional loyalty surrounding them. To others, he was simply another celebrity crushed beneath the impossible pressure of internet stan culture. But regardless of interpretation, one thing became undeniable after this controversy.